Hey, how y'all doing? Uh, I wanted to talk about more corruption that my Texas state governor was um, doing, but he's not really finished yet. This is concerning property taxes and the ERCOT, which is the company that provides all the electric power for Texas. Um, but there's still a few dots that I have to connect in order to talk about his corruption and his attempts, and it's going to be a doozy, trust me. But what I want to do is go back to the subject of hate and anti-hate, and I wanted to bring up. I brought up about the Proud Boys here in America, the Proud Boys versus the Rose City Nationals, which is two fascist groups that wound up fighting each other. Um, and I was talking about how it's all about the image and all this good stuff, and trying to look like the good guys. Um, but I wanted to also talk a bunch of other stuff about hate and hate organizations. And somewhere down the line, I was going to bring up the Wagner group, the Wagner group, which is a mercenary group that Moscow send to attack the Ukraine. Uh, Later on, wound up turning around and trying to attack Moscow, but didn't get that far and fizzled out. And everybody's thinking, oh, it's a militia group that's just this that made a fool out of themselves. Technically, no. That's what you're meant to believe. The Moscow attack was staged. And the reason why I bring this up is because a hate group or a militia has always been used by Russia to go and invade and just do these attacks on other countries. Um, and then Moscow's army comes in the name of protection and unification to take over that particular country. And I've stated this before, and I meant to get the episode that I had stated this on. I'm trying to think of it right now. It's not coming to mind. I'm gonna have to go back to it, and more than likely, I'm gonna be bringing this up again because this is the stuff that I was talking about, particularly concerning the oil. There was one that I did where I commended Biden for stopping the oil business with Russia. Why? Because it's not Russian oil. It's stolen Ukrainian oil. It's stolen Bosnian oil. It's stolen Croatian oil. It's stolen uh, um, Kosovo oil and stuff like that. It was never Russian oil to begin with. It was taken after them occupying stuff. Yeah, occupying these countries. Uh, One of the reasons before the Ukraine was Crimea. Okay, this coming after author Stephen Pfeiffer, 6 years after the illegal annexation. Okay, the things that caught my attention about how everybody's coping with the post-war and all this stuff, and everything leading up to the war and all this good stuff. Okay, in February 2024, a militia labeled Little Green Men. Now that was obviously not their own title. I don't know who they was, and so far nobody's really being able to identify them, which is another reason why I'm making this post. Because if any of you out there has that information, please share. You don't actually have to share it directly with me, but please make sure everybody else out there knows. Okay, it's a militia. Little Green Men were reported invading Crimea. Okay, in February of 2014. By March 18th of that year, a peace treaty was signed, and Putin ratified the treaty 3 days later. Okay, 6 years later, we come to find out more than 250,000 Russians have moved in from Russia to Crimea and settled there, and you know, totally taking part of that unification thing. But none of that couldn't have been done without Putin's declaration of unification, which wouldn't have justified him to do that unless it was to protect Crimea from the Little Green Men. Okay, this is what I was talking about this is what I mean when I say this attack on Moscow by the Wagner Group. They it was staged. They supposedly ran out of ammo and ran out of this and ran out of that, and they bitched to Putin, claiming where's the ammunition, where's our ammo, where's our food, where's our fuel, and in a fit he turns around his militia and goes to directly for Moscow, but never makes it there. So where is he now? He hasn't been arrested. He's not apprehended. They all just disbanded. They went back to the motherland. They went back to the motherland and they hid. Some of them say that he's actually out in the Balkans. Some of them say that he's actually out in other, I can't remember what it was called. It's not Finland, it's another one. It's another Middle Eastern, Slavic-based country, okay? Some have said that because they didn't make it all the way, that he's just abandoned, and voila, problem solved. Well, not really, because that same group is going to come back to make another attack sometime later whenever Putin wants to do his reunification thing again, okay? Attempts at reunification. Crimea was one of the living examples of that. Was the Wagner Group the invading militia? I couldn't find the information. I could not find the information. I wish I could, but unfortunately, that's not what's. And then to top it off, what makes it more complicated was that many weapons that were smuggled in throughout the 1990s into Croatia, while Croatia was trying to break free from Yugoslavia, they came in through weapons trade through France. So there's nothing pinpointing Putin or I think at the time it was Gorbachev, but Russia in general, Russia's participation with war taking place over there. Now from the 2000 to 2020, Russia's already got CEOs in Croatia's oil industry who have close ties with Russian lobbying businesses with interests in Crimea. By 2017 to 2018, Russia appoints more former agents in charge of strong government services that have mafia-type organizations that run with Russian mafia-type organizations. Okay, after 2020, Crimea calls out the Russian people in charge of Crimea with only back down when Russia behaves themselves and not use Crimea for attacking Ukraine. All right, this is the plots that are being done, in order to ascertain control over these Slavic-based countries, over Eastern Europe, which is again just a few tactics that are being done to it. Now that was all Croatia. The earlier one that I brought up was Crimea, so let's not get them wrong. The early one with the little green men was Crimea. Croatia was through weapons trade and helping them out, helping out Croatians to break free from Yugoslavia, with as you can obviously see, through appointees and CEOs and all them to take over Croatia. Okay. Bosnia sort of fell into the same aspect as Croatia. The reason for that is because Bosnia was also trying to break free from Yugoslavian control and was trying to work as their own way of independence. So in an oddball sort of way, Croatia and Bosnia sort of shook hands with the devil, so to say, and they wound up getting their independence, but are now with a whole crap load of Russian appointees controlling their country. Crimea is the one where Russian appointees, as far as I could tell, have not really been appointed to start control over everything. but has had to pick a fight with Crimea, and Crimea has fought back, just like Ukraine. Um, which brings me back to that militia, just like the little green men in Crimea. Russia has got. This time we've named the. I mean, unless unless the ones in Crimea were named, it would be most helpful if we could share that information. Because I did a little bit of research and I wound up losing my place and all this stuff. I lost the page. But yeah, I mean, this was a obvious part of the plan in order to get the Ukraine to bow down. Now, Ukraine did not bow down. They're still strong. They're still holding on. And unlike Crimea, where it's still got a bunch of appointees on their territory, you know, the Ukraine is still going to be subject to attack. And what this all boils down to is one of the anti-hate matters here that I was bringing up when I brought up the Proud Boys and the Rose City nationalists. Okay, what we got here on this global part over in Eastern Europe is hate that is derived in the name of unification, as opposed to here in the States, where hate was derived in the name of morals, okay, in the name of trying to up the image of the Proud Boys. This is what I was wanted to add on when I did the segment. If you're still anti-hate, you're still doing the right thing. That segment. Which, now that I've got that out, and another reason why I brought this up, why I wanted to put it on, if you're still anti-hate, you're still doing the right thing, is because the Wagner Group is linked to neo-Nazism and far-right politics. Okay, they've got their Wagner Group written out surrounding a skull. The letter Z is their emblem, and the letter W, which sort of looks like a Wonder Woman with one wing on it, a crooked wing or something. That's another part of their group. Okay, the Crimean crisis is one where the Wagner Group participated in. I'm not sure if they were little green men. That might have been an entirely different militia, but they were also involving in the Syrian civil war, South Sudan conflict, the CAR civil war, which is Cameroon African Republic, the Second Libyan Civil War, Venezuelan presidential crisis. Okay, there was a crisis that was going on in Venezuela, and the Wagner Group went in there and annihilated all the president's enemies. So we know who sold their soul to Satan there. The Mali War, Russian invasion of Ukraine. Okay, that's the one that we all know right now. But these guys have got a history. These guys have got a history of using that neo-Nazism and far-right politics to fuel their hate, to go out and attack all these different countries, you know, and they're up for sale. You know, their power is up for sale. Also, Lauren Boebert, back to the States, Lauren Boebert introduced an impeachment vote to impeach Biden. Marjorie Taylor Greene got angry with Boebert because she was fundraising to do the same thing, so she called Boebert a nasty little bitch for undermining her. Okay, this is money-driven hate. Okay, the simple fact that, you know, she herself, Marjorie Taylor Greene herself, admitted that she was already making a move to do this, you know, those contributions would be important to her. Okay, she's admitted that herself. That's hate driven by money. Okay, and I bring that up because, again, the Wagner Group is not just somebody that believes it's okay to ethnically cleanse a country. They're doing it for the profit. Okay, that whole biswax where they were shortchanged, lack of fuel, lack of ammunition, oh, that pisses me off, so I got to go invade Moscow. Okay, no, that was staged. That was 100% staged. Crimea is proof of that. With the little green men, even despite the fact that there's no, at least through my research, there's no connecting the little green men with the Wagner group. Okay, there's not, which means it's probably an entire different militia that held up themselves for sale, their services for sale, and because it was a Russia-Crimea conflict, they did the dirty work of Putin's bidding, or Russia's bidding, whoever's in charge of doing that. Okay, I don't know any other group that would be. So again, if anybody knows who the little green men were, by all means, point them out. If anybody knows that Croatian, where with the tons of weaponry that was smuggled through France in order to get Croatia power just for, or independence, just for Russian powers to appoint people in charge of Croatia, if you know what group did that, starting with the smuggling of the weapons, please share the information. We can't go blindly. And the same thing with the Bosnian one and Kosovo. We can't go blindly thinking that none of that happened, and we can't go blindly thinking that none of this was staged, and that it's just improbable and all this good stuff. Just simply because we all know that if it can happen over there, it can happen over here. And the reasons why we continue to stay anti-hate. Okay? It was hate expressed for the greed of power of a country. Well, more like the Russian government. All of Russia wasn't on board with that, just as sure as they're not on board with the Ukraine war, with the war in Ukraine. Okay, it's kind of like the way I explained with the CCP. Whenever everybody says China is doing this, China is doing that, well, if you take a look at it, China isn't really doing that. The CCP that's running China, that's in charge of China, is. So this try to look at it the same way with the Russians. The Russians, I don't know the group that's currently in charge of everything, but this is what's going on, and it's being anti-hate and living it that's keeping us from falling for any of the propaganda out there or any rhetoric over here. We're seeing through the BS. Okay. And that's another reason for being the way that we are right now, especially if you're a member of this show. If you're watching this show, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But yeah, I had to bring that up because there was also a lot of internet responses from commenters who just said, I don't know what's going on. Yes, they do. They just don't want to say what I'm saying, what you're thinking, and what we can all agree on. Just using common sense. Okay? There's a lot of people saying this is crazy, it's insane. No, it's corruption. It's greed, it's corruption, and it's fueled with hate. There's a lot of people that talk about it, and they're looking at, well, who started it, and what about this, and what about that? Common sense says none of that matters. Because it's all hate-driven corruption. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. And that's the reason why you're here on this show. That's the reason why I have to do this show. Everybody's thinking of every single possibility as to what to identify these conflicts with, except the obvious. The one where common sense comes into play. So, or actually answers, all these questions and confusions and oh my god and whatever, So yeah, that's all I had to say. I just wanted to let that out. I wanted to let everybody know you're not alone. And if you're tired of listening to everybody's confusion and this is insane and reasoning why, because it's those people's fault, and what about those people there, and what about these people, all that. If you're tired with all that crap and stuff, You're obviously here on my show, where common sense, on common ground thinking, can actually have somebody like you and I taking a step back, looking at it, and seeing that it's just hate driven corruption. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. What to do about it, and all this other stuff. Hey, if you think you can save the world, go for it. But if not, let's let time take its toll. Okay. After all, without an invasion, you know, we really can't arrest anybody. You know, we can't knock out Russia and just start arresting everybody that's in charge, especially the Wagner Group, the way, you know, the world did when we got together to knock out Germany and start arresting everybody that was in charge of the Nazi regime, the Third Reich, and all that good stuff. You know, without some kind of action like that, we really can't do anything or do too much. Okay? But let's let time tell. Let's let time tell what we can do. For right now, just spread the word. Again, if you know any more, if you got any more info on who the little green men were and who was participating with Croatia that allowed, you know, Russia to appoint all these people to be in charge of it. Same thing with Bosnia. Same thing with Hertz. Oh, please forgive me for this. Hertzberg. I think that's a correct way you enunciate it. But yeah, I mean, please share, and I'll share it on my show, and you know, I also write on Jetpack. I write articles on Jetpack now, which is in coalition with WordPress and Tribal, and I have my own podcast, anchor.fm/Chris-comments. Okay, where I'll be making audio only. It's audio only, but I will be dropping as much information on the comment section, just like the way I'm going to here. But yeah, I mean, I'll share the information the way I do with my show. If we could just keep on spreading the word, if we can just keep on updating each other and filling each other with all the information that we need in order to see this and get all it passed around for everybody to know. It eventually does go up to those that are in charge of the U.S., those that are in charge in the UN, those that are in charge with free trade, and all this good stuff. It eventually goes up there, and then eventually something's being done. I mean, this whole bushwhack, this whole business with, 2 years ago when Biden broke ties with Russia, and all that oil just wasn't being brought over here anymore. We weren't buying Russian oil anymore. It was a bold move. It was a bold move, especially when inflation and gas price gouging started to take place to try to punish us, to try to get us to turn on our president, President Biden. You know, it was a bold move, and I will still commemorate our president for breaking ties with Russia because of it, and again, because it's not Russian oil, it was stolen Ukrainian oil. You know, hospitals with kids were bombed in order to take part in moving everybody away from the oil fields that the Ukraine had. You know, same thing that happened in Crimea. You know, they were assaulted, they were attacked, and their fields was taken. And then to top it all off, a strong logistic point to attack the Ukraine that was used in order to attack Ukraine. So, I mean, for us to drop Russian oil, that's good, because it wasn't Russian oil to begin with. It was stolen Ukrainian oil. It was stolen Crimean oil. It was stolen Croatian oil. It was stolen Bosnian oil. Okay, it was stolen Kosovo oil. It was taken out of their countries, especially when they thought that they were finally independent. When they finally became independent, post World War II, all the way up to the 70s, 80s, 90s, and now into the 2000s, where it's moved out of those smaller countries to the Ukraine, Okay, every single one of those countries got hit. Every single one of those countries got swindled in some form or another. And every single one of those countries got their oil taken and sold to us over here in the West. Yep. So, again, if you can find the identity of those militia, we've got one right now, the Wagner Group. We've got one entitled Little Green Men, which is not the actual militia. That militia had a name. You get the name, we spread the word, we let the world know what's going on. It took from the 1970s all the way up to the Biden administration to finally break ties with Russia and tell them to go sell the oil up there, stick the oil where the sun don't shine. Okay? And with Vladimir Putin's, saying you'll come back, you take our oil, or or we don't sell to we sell to everybody except you. Venezuela is another important thing. What I mentioned the Venezuela conflict because, as we all know, Biden went to Venezuela and said, hey, can we work out a deal? And they said, no, you're going to take all our immigrants and you're going to buy our oil, or you can, or no deal. Biden went over to Saudi Arabia. Hey, can we make a deal? And the Saudis said, no, you're going to buy our oil no matter how many journalists that expose us of our corruption that we kill and murder and butcher and just make disappear off the face of the earth. And you're going to buy our oil or no deal. You're going to be quiet or no deal. I mean, that's balls, man, for our president to get all those doors shut and then come back here to watch Motiva, Aramco, Chevron, Exxon, all of these assholes out here price gouge throughout 2022 and just hurt us immensely. And everybody says, why are you price gouging us? And all the gas and oil and fuel companies say, well, why did you vote for Biden? So yeah, no. This kind of stuff are tactics that are being done for the power, okay? And it goes from corporate greed all the way up to national greed, and it comes out as in confrontations with armies all the way down to the nasty shit with militias, just like the Little Green Men, and now that we have a name of one of the groups, Wagner Group, okay? More and more of their corruption is being exposed. So pitch in, all right? Pitch in what you know, okay? And share it. Share it with the Young Turks. Share it with Brian Tyler Cohen. Share it with Ring of Fire. Share it with the liberal redneck. I don't care. Spread the word, okay? Spread the word. Make sure that it is so that way it eventually goes up to those that are in political power, all right? I'm going to kill it at half an hour. Y'all take care. Y'all take it easy. This is Chris with Chris's Comments, signing out.